Okay, so we left off with this basic setup where we had talked about a little bit about reactive references versus, view references versus view with reactive, and we even had the old 2. Version 2 in here for data. So now that we have that, we can actually eliminate this information. Again, this was just in here to kind of show you what was here. And again, there is a version in GitHub for you. So you can feel free to grab that if you want the original code to look at. Let's get rid of all this because we don't need any of this anymore. Okay. So we're here because we want to do a form, right? So let's add a div in here, and because I'm using Flexbox, why am I saying Flexbox? Because I'm using Tailwind, there's some built-in utility classes. So you do need to know the basics of CSS, but I will explain it as the things I'm kind of putting in here. So let's add, I'm adding, PT means padding top, so padding top of 2, Flexbox column because I want them all lined up, and I want to make sure the items you want to start. And again, if you're unsure of the various classes they have in here, you can use Tailwind. Will give you all the things in here that you're going to need. There is a extension that you can use in Visual Studio Code, but I noticed that's not updated for Tailwind 2.0 yet, so you're going to have to wait. But if you go into each one of these, they will tell you the different class you may need. So if you need colors, you add color gray, 500, or 50, and this will give you this color gray. If you add color gray 800, it'll give you this color. So that's kind of how Tailwind works. But again, look at the documentation. They have a lot of good things in here. And they also have a nice little search up here, so you can just search. So like we just put in flex, and they'll show you flex initial, how to grow and shrink, how to do space between, all that kind of stuff. And again, if you're familiar with CSS, this is just like if you had to write your own CSS classes, but you don't. So you just write flex auto, and it does your flex for you. So that's that. Okay, so that was the basics. That was the div. And let's, for every form, obviously needs a label. And actually, I'm going to eliminate the label 4. But I will add some classes in here. So we're going to say text. I just want small for now. Text. Let's do a blue of. Actually, I'm not going to use. I'm going to use gray of 800. That's going to give me a nice dark gray for the label. I'll put in name. I'm going to put in an input. Text is fine. Let's add some basic classes here. We're going to say, let's add in a border. Oops, what am I putting that type? Class. Border. I want to be gray also. Let's also do an 800. And again, you can obviously adjust these colors as you want. I'm going to put a 2 pixel border on it. That's just border 2. PL means padding left of 2. And I want to have rounded corners. About medium. And a height. I want to give it a decent height, so I'm going to do 10. That's probably around, oh man, I forget what it is, but it's let's do a placeholder, full name here. And And what we're going to do is, obviously, not obviously, from familiar view, you can bind things the same way that you would with view 2. So we'll do vModel, and what we'll do is we'll do it from our state, because remember, that's where we're having our things, and we want to be able to pass it along. So state.name. Because again, we have, and of course it's going to yell at me because I have this, so let me just uncomment this, and if we have to add it in after we go. So, simple name, placeholder, and things. So let's save right quick, and let's look at what this is going to look like. So simple state form, and here we go, name, full name here. So there you go. Because again, remember, we don't have anything in our state. Our state we set up by default the name as empty. So there we go. All right. So usually when you do this, well, actually, let me show you this, because this will really help you with this. Again, we'll put in some simple buttons in here so you can see that even though we have our state, we can pass along our state to our next steps without doing any extra real work. So we'll go to our step 2. Same thing as we did with step 1, import state from state. Come in here, come back, and we'll add some very simple buttons. So const nav next. We're going to, again, simple arrow functions. Oh, let's import the router. That's why we have view router, right? Import router from router. There we go. And then we'll say router push for view router, and then we're just going to call our next step. So in this case, we're on step 1, so we're going to say step 2. All right, and remember, because this, and again, my IDs give me a little yelling that it's assigned but never used. That's fine. We haven't put it anywhere, but we also have to make sure we return it. So nav next. There you go. And we'll put a little button here. Actually, let's not put it in that div, because that's a div with the input and label, because I'll probably put a span in here for any errors in the future, for the reading the validation errors, and then saying, hey, you didn't fill in name like you're supposed to. So we'll do another div, and we'll also add classes here, class flex, and let's see, let's just leave this flex for now. We'll probably do justify like later or something of that nature. So let's just add in our button, and we'll just do step 2. And obviously you can make these so that they work programmatically. I'm adding them individually for right now, and if necessary I'll change it later based on what I'm going to do. Nav next. And you know what, I may as well duplicate this and do a nav. Oops, that one should be next. Let's do nav prev, and we'll do home. There we go. And likewise, we can add this here. Now again, part of the reason why I want to add the individual buttons, because I can also add various validations. So I can say, hey, before you go to next, check all the forms, return any errors related to, you know, these particular rule sets. So check the name, it's required. Check the phone number, make sure it's proper formatted. Make sure they return a proper email address. So I could put all that kind of information inside of my next button to do the validation. Or I can add another thing here and then just call it inside next. But for right now, this is what I'm going to do. Next previous, and we'll go home, and then same thing we did here, we have to return it. Nav prev. And because I'm feeling super lazy, as you should be as well, let's go to step 2 and let's import our router. And let's grab our buttons. And let's grab our functions. And we can even grab our return statements. There you go. And let's, oops, put a comment there. There you go. And I have prettier on, that's why it's reformatting it. It's just easier for me. I keep prettier on, that way I can just save it and it'll give me the proper spacing and all that kind of stuff. So let's close these. Alright, now if we did everything correct, you should be able to come here, and I'm just going to refresh. You actually don't have to. So, put in my name, right? And if we're in here, step 1, you know, I noticed about these new tools, sometimes you got to jump to have it actually kick on. There you go. See how now it moved and added the setup here? That's fine. So I'm sure they'll fix the tools in the future where you won't have to do that. So you can see I put the name in here, and now it's updated to my state and name. Now if I go to step 2, where I also have the name, and again, I gotta do this right now. I'll be glad when they fix this part of it. And as you can see, it carried it over. So without really doing much, just adding the global state, it by default will keep the state and then pass in the new data from the previous step. Because remember, this is on a different page. It's not like a typical single page application where everything's there and we're just hiding the divs to make it look like it's moving to a new page. These are actually new pages, right? Because we have these in our views. These are new pages. These are not just hidden divs on one page, but it's keeping the state. And again, it's great because it's super simple as far as that goes. It just moves it along. So that's for the basics of how you do that. Now again, if you're not interested in what I'm about to do as far as cleaning up, pretty it up, you just want to figure out how you can move them from one state to another, from one page to another, you have everything you need now to at least do the basics. All right, from here, I'm also going to show you how to, rather than have all these inputs for each page, we'll make a base input that can be recycled. We'll make same thing with the buttons. Rather than have the buttons with all the various classes in here, we'll use Tailwind to make a very simple color theme. We'll make a component folder with the different UI components in here, and that way we can recycle them. We'll make a primary button, a secondary button, all that kind of stuff in there. And again, that way we we don't have to add our classes each time to all these inputs for every page. We'll just make a singular base one, and then we'll reuse it throughout. So that's next. Hopefully you will be coming back for that part of it. And that's the video. I appreciate it. Bye.